The rain hammered against my windshield as I pulled into our driveway, and that's when I saw it. A crisp white envelope tucked under the wiper blade of Erica's BMW. Even through the downpour, I could make out the corporate letterhead of Morrison and Associates, her company. My gut twisted as I grabbed it, water soaking through my jacket. Inside was a bonus check, $25,000, made out to Erica Thompson with a memo line that read, "Special Merit Projects, Confidential." I'd been married to Erica for 12 years, worked my tail off as an IT security analyst while she climbed the corporate ladder. We shared everything, or so I thought. This was the first I'd heard of any special merit projects. The front door slammed open before I could even reach for my keys. Erica stood there, her perfectly styled blonde hair somehow still immaculate despite the chaos I could see behind her in our living room. Boxes, suitcases, my suitcases. "You're late," she said, her voice carrying that cold, executive tone she usually reserved for firing people. I was hoping to avoid this whole scene. "What scene?" I held up the soggy envelope. "The one where you explain why your boss is cutting you secret checks for 25 grand? Her laugh was sharp enough to cut glass. "Oh, that's rich. You want to talk about secrets? How about we start with the fact that you're a pathetic loser who's been dragging me down for years?" The words hit me like a physical slap. 12 years of marriage, and she'd never spoken to me like this. Not even during our worst fights. "Erica, what the hell is going on?" "What's going on is that I'm done." She stepped aside, gesturing to the boxes. "Your stuff is packed. My brother's coming to help you load it." As if on cue, her brother Danny appeared in the doorway. 6'3", all muscle and attitude, wearing that smug grin I'd learned to hate over the years. Behind him stood Erica's sister Michelle, arms crossed, looking like she was enjoying every second of this. "Hey there, loser," Danny said, hefting one of my boxes with exaggerated ease. "Looks like my sister finally came to her senses." "About time," Michelle chimed in. "We've been telling her for years she could do better." I felt like I was watching a movie about someone else's life. This couldn't be happening. Not like this. Not after everything we'd built together. "Erica, can we please talk about this privately?" I tried to keep my voice steady, reasonable. "Whatever's wrong, we can work it out." "There's nothing to work out." She pulled out her phone, fingers flying over the screen. "I'm texting my lawyer right now. You have 1 hour to get your junk and get out." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. "Your lawyer?" The rain was getting heavier, and I was still standing in it like an idiot. "What do you need a lawyer for?" Danny laughed, a harsh sound that made my teeth clench. "Dude, she's divorcing you. Try to keep up." The world tilted sideways. Divorce. The word hit me like a freight train. I'd had no warning, no sign that things were this bad between us. Sure, we'd been distant lately, but I thought it was just work stress. Erica had been putting in long hours on some big project with her boss, Brad Morrison. I'd been supportive, understanding when she came home late, when she was too tired to talk, when she started sleeping in the guest room because I snored too loud. I'd been such an idiot. "The merit projects," I said slowly, pieces clicking into place. "They're not work projects, are they?" Erica's smile was pure poison. "Brad appreciates my special talents, something you never learned to do." The implication hit me like a punch to the gut. Brad Morrison, her married boss with his perfect teeth and his corner office. The guy who'd shaken my hand at the company Christmas party while apparently planning to steal my wife. "You're having an affair." "I'm upgrading," she corrected. "Brad's filing for divorce, too. We're going to be very happy together." Michelle clapped her hands like this was some kind of celebration. "Finally. I was so tired of pretending you were good enough for my sister." "Yeah," Danny added, dropping another box with unnecessary force. Brad's got a yacht. What do you have? A 10-year-old Honda and a job that barely pays the bills. That stung because it was partly true. I made decent money, but nothing compared to Erica's executive salary or Brad's ownership stake in the company. I'd always been proud of my work. Cybersecurity wasn't glamorous, but it was important. I protected people's data, their privacy, their digital lives. Apparently that didn't count for much in the Thompson family value system. So this is it? I gestured at the boxes, at the wreckage of my life scattered across our front porch. 12 years, and you're throwing me out in the rain like garbage? Pretty much. Erica checked her phone again. 53 minutes now. I'd start loading if I were you. I stood there for a moment, water dripping from my hair, watching my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, orchestrate my humiliation with military precision. Her family was loving every second of it. Danny was actually filming with his phone, probably planning to post it on social media for his buddies to laugh at. That's when something shifted inside me. The hurt and shock crystallized into something harder, colder. If Erica wanted to play games, I could learn the rules. I'd spent my career thinking 3 steps ahead of hackers and scammers. Maybe it was time to apply those skills to my personal life. Fine, I said, surprising them all with how calm I sounded. I'll get my stuff. I loaded box after box into my Honda while they watched and whispered among themselves. Personal items, clothes, books, the few things that were unquestionably mine. Everything else, the house, the furniture, the life we'd built, stayed behind. As I drove away, I caught sight of Mrs. Gomez peering through her curtains from next door. Great. By tomorrow, the whole neighborhood would know about my public humiliation. Erica had made sure of that. I ended up at Sam's auto shop, where my best friend since college was working late on a transmission rebuild. Sam Martinez was the only cop I'd ever trusted, back before he quit the force and opened his own business. If anyone could help me figure out what to do next, it was him. Well, you look like someone just stole your lunch money, Sam said, wiping grease from his hands as I walked in. What's the story? I told him everything. The check, the boxes, the family humiliation session. Sam listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. So let me get this straight, he said when I finished. Your wife's been having an affair with her boss, they're both getting divorced to be together, and she just threw you out like yesterday's newspaper. That about covers it. And this bonus check, 25 grand for special merit projects. You think that's payment for services rendered? The crude implication made my stomach turn, but I nodded. Has to be. There's no legitimate project at Morrison and Associates that would justify that kind of bonus. I know because I helped set up their accounting software 3 years ago. Sam's eyes lit up with interest. You have access to their systems? Not anymore. They changed all the passwords after I left that contract. I slumped against his workbench. I'm screwed, Sam. She's got lawyers, money, her family backing her up. What do I have? You've got me, he said simply. And you've got something else she doesn't know about. What's that? Sam grinned, and for a moment I glimpsed the street-smart cop he used to be. You've got nothing left to lose. That makes you dangerous. Sam let me crash in the apartment above his shop, a cramped space that smelled like motor oil and old pizza. It wasn't much, but it was better than a motel, and Sam refused to take any money for it. Consider it an investment, he said. I've got a feeling this is going to get interesting. He was right about that. I spent the next 3 days diving deep into every digital trail I could find. Erica might have changed the passwords at Morrison and Associates, but she'd forgotten about our shared personal accounts, the credit cards, the bank statements, the cloud storage where she backed up her phone. What I found made my hands shake with rage. Hotel charges going back 8 months, always the same place, the Riverside Inn, downtown, always the same pattern, Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, right when Erica claimed to be in extended strategy meetings. The charges were on our joint credit card, meaning I'd been paying for my wife's affair the whole time. But that was just the beginning. Buried in her cloud backup were photos that told the whole story. Erica and Brad at romantic dinners. Erica and Brad on what looked like a weekend getaway. And yes, Erica holding up that $25,000 check with a huge smile. Brad's arm around her waist. The final photo was time-stamped just 2 hours before she'd thrown me out. It showed them together in what looked like Brad's office, and the caption made me want to put my fist through Sam's wall. "Freedom Day! No more burden!" She documented her own affair, I told Sam, showing him the photos on my laptop. "Who does that?" "Someone who's gotten too comfortable," Sam replied. "Someone who thinks she's untouchable." Maybe she is. Her lawyers already filed preliminary divorce papers. Look at this. I pulled up the email I'd received that morning. She's claiming I was financially irresponsible, that I contributed nothing to the marriage, and that she deserves everything because she was the primary breadwinner. Sam read over my shoulder, his expression growing grim. She's going for the throat. House, cars, retirement accounts, she wants it all. And she'll probably get it. Her family's backing her up, Brad's got influence in this town, and I'm just some IT guy who got caught off guard. Maybe, Sam said. Or maybe it's time to remind them that IT guys know things, useful things. That afternoon, I decided to test the waters. I drove to Erica's office building, a gleaming tower of glass and steel that housed Morrison and Associates. I didn't have access to the building anymore, but I didn't need it. I just needed to be seen. I parked across the street and waited. Sure enough, at 5:30 p.m., Erica emerged from the building with Brad Morrison himself. Even from a distance, I could see them laughing, his hand on the small of her back as he guided her toward his silver Porsche. They looked so happy together, so confident, so sure that they'd gotten away with it. I followed them at a distance, staying back far enough to avoid detection. They drove to an upscale restaurant downtown, the kind of place Erica and I had only been to for special occasions. Through the window, I watched them share appetizers and wine, playing footsie under the table like teenagers. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop following us or I'll call the police. E." So she'd spotted me after all. I typed back, "Public street, public restaurant, not illegal to eat dinner in the same part of town as my wife." Her response came immediately. "Soon-to-be ex-wife. Leave us alone." Instead of leaving, I walked into the restaurant. The hostess tried to seat me, but I waved her off and walked directly to their table. The look of pure panic on Brad's face was worth the price of admission. "Evening, folks," I said pleasantly. "Fancy meeting you here." "Get lost," Brad hissed, trying to keep his voice down. "You're making a scene." "Am I?" I looked around the restaurant. A few people were glancing our way, but nothing dramatic. "I'm just saying hello to my wife and her, what do you call yourself, Brad? Her merit project?" Erica's face went white, then red. "You need to leave, now." "Actually, I need to ask you about this." I pulled out a printed copy of the bonus check, along with one of the hotel receipts. "See, I'm trying to understand our finances for the divorce proceedings, and I'm having trouble categorizing these expenses. Are they business or pleasure?" Brad stood up so fast he knocked over his wine glass. Red liquid spread across the white tablecloth like a stain of guilt. "You have no right." "I have every right," I interrupted. "That's my wife you're buying dinner for with money you paid her for services I can only imagine." "Security!" Brad called out, his voice cracking with panic. But I was already walking away. I'd made my point. They weren't as safe as they thought. They weren't as smart as they thought. And most importantly, I wasn't going to disappear quietly into the night. The next morning brought a new development. Sam knocked on my door at 7 a.m., holding a cup of coffee and wearing a grin that meant trouble. "Remember how I said you were dangerous when you had nothing to lose?" he said. "Yeah." "Well, I've been thinking about that." And I've been thinking about your particular skill set. And I've been thinking about how Brad Morrison's fancy Porsche is parked in the same spot every day while he's at the gym. I sat up straighter. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that a car is a complicated machine with lots of ways it can develop problems, especially if someone who knows about complicated machines wanted it to develop problems. Sam, I can't what? Can't give him a taste of the inconvenience he's been serving you? Can't remind him that actions have consequences? Sam's expression hardened. This guy's been screwing your wife and paying her with company money. He's helping her destroy you in divorce court. And you're worried about his car? He had a point. I'd been playing defense since this whole thing started, reacting instead of acting. Maybe it was time to change that. What did you have in mind? Sam's grin widened. Nothing permanent, nothing that can't be fixed, just something that'll make his day a little more interesting. That afternoon, we drove to the upscale gym where Brad worked out every day during his lunch break. Sure enough, the silver Porsche was parked in its usual spot, gleaming in the afternoon sun. You sure about this? I asked as Sam popped the hood with practiced ease. Relax, I'm not going to hurt anything. Just going to make a few adjustments that'll leave him stranded until a tow truck can get here. Sam's hands moved with the confidence of someone who'd been working on cars for 20 years. Disconnecting the battery, loosening a few connections, maybe introducing some sugar into the gas tank. Nothing that'll cause permanent damage. While he worked, I kept watch and thought about what I was doing. 3 weeks ago, I'd been a law-abiding citizen with a stable marriage and a quiet life. Now I was standing lookout while my best friend sabotaged my wife's lover's car. The funny thing was, I didn't feel guilty about it. I felt alive for the first time in months. Done, Sam announced, closing the hood carefully. Should take him about an hour to figure out what's wrong, and another 2 hours for a tow truck to get here. That's a lot of time to think about his life choices. We were back at the shop when my phone rang. Unknown number, again. You son of a... Brad's voice was shaking with rage. I'm sorry, who is this? I asked innocently. You know damn well who this is. What did you do to my car? I have no idea what you're talking about. I've been at my friend's auto shop all day. Sam, tell the nice man where I've been. Sam leaned over to the phone. He's been here with me since noon. We've been working on inventory. Why, is there a problem? The silence stretched out for a long moment. Then Brad's voice came back, quieter, but somehow more menacing. This isn't over. No, I agreed. I don't think it is. That evening, I got a call from my daughter, Emma. At 14, she was old enough to understand that her parents were getting divorced, but young enough to still believe that maybe it could all be worked out somehow. Dad, Mom says you've been harassing her and Brad. She says you're acting crazy. The words hit me harder than anything Erica or her family had said. Emma was the one good thing to come out of my marriage, and the thought of losing her respect was unbearable. I know this is confusing, but your mom and I... She says you're trying to sabotage their relationship because you can't accept that it's over. Did she tell you why it's over? A pause. She says you grew apart, that you weren't making her happy anymore. What she didn't say spoke volumes. Erica hadn't told Emma about the affair, about Brad, about any of it. She was controlling the narrative, making herself the victim and me, the villain. Emma, there are things about this situation that you don't understand yet. Adult things. But I need you to know that I love you, and I'm fighting for us. For our family. But your mom says a lot of things. Some of them are true. Some of them aren't. But what's true is that I'm your father, and I'm not going anywhere. After I hung up, I sat in Sam's cramped apartment and stared at the wall. Erica was poisoning my own daughter against me, turning Emma into another weapon in her arsenal. It was one thing to destroy my marriage, my home, my financial security, but involving Emma crossed a line I hadn't even known existed. She's good, I said out loud to the empty room. I'll give her that. She's very, very good. But she'd made one mistake. She'd assumed I would just roll over and take it. She'd assumed that 12 years of marriage to a quiet, stable IT guy meant she knew everything about me. She was about to learn how wrong she was. The next phase of my education in revenge came courtesy of Emma's school fundraiser. Every year, Lincoln Middle School held a silent auction to raise money for their technology programs, and every year, Erica and I had attended together, bid on a few items, and written a modest check. This year was going to be different. "You want to do what?" Sam asked when I outlined my plan. "I want to give a presentation about cybersecurity, educational content for the parents about protecting their kids online. Very public-spirited of me. And you just happen to have some slides that might be interesting to certain members of the audience?" I might have prepared some visual aids that illustrate how easy it is for people to leave digital trails of their activities. For educational purposes. Sam shook his head, but he was grinning. "You're playing with fire here. You know that, right?" "Good. Maybe it's time things got a little heated." The fundraiser was held in the school gymnasium, with folding tables displaying auction items and a small stage for announcements. I arrived early, dressed in my best suit, carrying a laptop and a portable projector. I'd volunteered my services to the school's technology coordinator, a frazzled woman named Mrs. Patterson who was grateful for any help she could get. "Oh, thank goodness," she said when I introduced myself. "We've been having trouble with the presentation system all day. You're a lifesaver." "Happy to help," I said, setting up my equipment with practiced efficiency. "I've prepared a short presentation about online safety that I thought might be relevant for the parents." "Perfect. We'll work you in right after the principal's welcome speech." The gym filled up as evening approached. Parents, teachers, and kids milled around the auction tables, examining donated items and placing bids. I spotted Erica across the room, looking stunning in a black cocktail dress, Brad at her side, in an expensive suit. They were working the room like politicians, shaking hands and making small talk. Erica's family was there too, of course. Danny and Michelle had positioned themselves near the refreshment table, holding court with a group of other parents. I caught snippets of their conversation as I did a final check of my equipment. "Such a shame about the divorce," Michelle was saying in a voice that carried farther than it needed to. But honestly, Erica's better off without him. He was never ambitious enough for her. "I heard he's been stalking them," Danny added, "following them to restaurants, vandalizing Brad's car. The guy's lost it." I smiled to myself. They had no idea what "lost it" actually looked like. Principal Hayes took the stage and gave his standard welcome speech, thanking everyone for their support and outlining how the funds would be used. Then he introduced me. "We're fortunate to have David Chen with us tonight," he said, and I winced at the mispronunciation of my last name. David's an IT security specialist, and he's going to share some important information about keeping our children safe online. I walked to the podium, feeling 100 pairs of eyes on me. Erica was staring at me with obvious suspicion, but she couldn't very well object to a presentation about child safety without looking like a terrible mother. "Thank you, Principal Hayes," I began, my voice carrying clearly through the gym's sound system. "As parents, we all worry about our children's safety. We teach them to look both ways before crossing the street, to never talk to strangers, to be careful around dangerous situations." Nods around the room. So far, so good. But in today's digital world, we also need to teach them about online safety, about how easy it is for people to leave traces of their activities on the internet, about how nothing is ever truly private in the digital age. I clicked to my first slide, which showed a generic email inbox with highlighted messages. For example, did you know that most people never fully delete their emails? Even when they think they've erased something, it often remains recoverable in cloud backups or on servers. Click. Next slide. a screenshot of a credit card statement with certain charges highlighted in red. Financial records are another area where people often leave digital footprints without realizing it. Every transaction tells a story. Every purchase creates a record. I heard a sharp intake of breath from somewhere in the audience. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Erica's face go pale. Click. Next slide. A map showing the location data from a smartphone with pins marking frequent visits to specific locations. Modern smartphones are incredibly sophisticated tracking devices. They record everywhere we go, everyone we communicate with, every app we use. This information can be invaluable for keeping our children safe, but it also means that adults need to be aware of their own digital footprints. The room was getting quieter. Parents were leaning forward, paying attention in a way they hadn't during the principal's speech. Click. Next slide. A screenshot of a messaging app conversation, with the names blurred out, but the content clearly visible. Text messages and social media posts are permanent records, even when we think we've deleted them. They can reveal patterns of behavior, relationships, and activities that people might prefer to keep private. The conversation I displayed was between Erica and Brad, discussing their Tuesday afternoon meetings at the Riverside Inn. The language was coded but unmistakable to anyone paying attention. "Oh my God," someone whispered behind me. Click. Next slide. The hotel receipts, dates, and times clearly visible, arranged in a chronological pattern that showed the regular Tuesday and Thursday meetings going back months. "The point I'm trying to make," I continued, my voice steady despite the growing murmur in the audience, "is that in the digital age, secrets are much harder to keep than people think. Everything leaves a trail." Click. Final slide. The photo of Erica and Brad with the bonus check, her caption about Freedom Day, clearly visible. The gymnasium erupted. Parents were turning to look at Erica and Brad, whispers spreading through the crowd like wildfire. I saw Michelle grab Danny's arm, both of them staring at me with expressions of shock and rage. And that, I concluded, is why it's so important to teach our children about digital responsibility. Because in today's world, everything they do online could potentially become public knowledge. I clicked off the projector and stepped away from the podium. Principal Hayes was standing frozen at the side of the stage, clearly unsure how to respond to what had just happened. "Thank you for your attention," I said into the microphone. "I hope this has been educational." The silence that followed was deafening. Then Brad Morrison stood up from his seat, his face red with fury. "This is outrageous," he shouted. "This man is using a school function to harass and defame private citizens." "Actually," I replied calmly, "I'm using a school function to educate parents about digital privacy. All the information I've shown tonight was obtained from publicly accessible sources or from accounts that I have legal access to as a spouse." "You son of a—" Danny started forward, but Sam appeared at his elbow, having materialized from somewhere in the crowd. "Easy there, big guy," Sam said quietly. "This is a school function. Lots of kids around. Wouldn't want to set a bad example." Erica finally found her voice. "David, how could you do this? In front of Emma's classmates and teachers?" "Funny you should mention Emma," I said, looking directly at her. "I thought it was important for her to understand why her parents are getting divorced, since you've been telling her it's because we grew apart." The crowd was buzzing now. Parents pulling out their phones to text friends who weren't there. Teachers huddling together in shocked conversation. I could see Emma near the back of the gym, her face a mask of confusion and hurt. My heart broke for her, but this had to be done. Erica had forced this confrontation by trying to control the narrative, by painting me as the villain while hiding her own actions. Now, everyone knew the truth. "Ladies and gentlemen," Principal Hayes finally managed to say, "perhaps we should return our attention to the auction items." But the damage was done. The fundraiser continued, but the focus had shifted completely. Parents kept glancing at Erica and Brad, whispering among themselves. Several people approached me to express their support, including Mrs. Patterson, who thanked me for opening everyone's eyes. As the evening wound down, I packed up my equipment and prepared to leave. That's when Erica cornered me near the exit. "You've destroyed everything," she hissed, keeping her voice low to avoid attracting more attention. "My reputation, my career, Emma's relationship with her classmates." "I've revealed the truth," I corrected. "There's a difference." "The truth?" "The truth is that our marriage was over long before Brad and I got together. The truth is that you were a boring, passionless man who took me for granted for years." "Maybe so," I admitted. "But the truth is also that you're an adulterer who's been stealing from your company and lying to our daughter. So I guess we both have our truths to live with." Brad appeared at her side, his earlier bluster replaced by cold calculation. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "You have no idea what you've started." "Actually, I think I have a pretty good idea," I replied. "But thanks for the warning." As I walked to my car, I felt a mixture of triumph and exhaustion. The public humiliation had been satisfying, but it had also been nuclear. There was no going back now, no possibility of a quiet divorce or an amicable settlement. I'd declared war, and Erica and Brad were going to respond in kind. Sure enough, the next morning brought a knock on Sam's door. A process server handed me a restraining order, signed by a judge and effective immediately. I was forbidden from coming within 500 feet of Erica, Brad, or any Morrison and Associates property. I was also forbidden from contacting Emma except through supervised visits arranged by the court. "She's good," Sam said, reading over the order. "This makes it look like you're the aggressor, like she's the victim who needs protection." "She's not just good," I replied, studying the legal language. "She's been planning this. Look at the date on the filing. She submitted this request yesterday morning, before the fundraiser. She knew I was going to do something, and she prepared her countermove in advance." "So what's your next move?" I folded the restraining order and slipped it into my pocket. "I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to dig deeper into the data and find out exactly how deep this corruption goes. Because that bonus check isn't the only money that's changed hands. I guarantee it." "And then?" "Then I'm going to make sure everyone knows about it. The company board, the IRS, the local business journal, everyone. If Erica wants to play hardball, she's about to learn that I've been studying the game a lot longer than she thinks." Sam grinned. "Now you're talking like someone who's got nothing left to lose." He was right. The restraining order had been the final straw. Erica had taken my home, my marriage, my reputation, and now my access to my own daughter. She'd left me with nothing to protect and nothing to fear. That made me very, very dangerous indeed. The next week passed in a blur of legal documents and digital forensics. I'd taken vacation time from my job, claiming family emergency, which wasn't technically a lie. While Erica thought she'd neutralized me with the restraining order, I was actually using the forced distance to dig deeper into Morrison and Associates' financial records. The key breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lisa Chen, one of Erica's co-workers who reached out to me through a carefully worded LinkedIn message. "I heard about your situation," she wrote. "If you're interested in learning more about the company's internal dynamics, I might be able to provide some context. Coffee?" We met at a small cafe across town, far from Morrison and Associates and anyone who might recognize us. Lisa was a thin, sharp-eyed woman in her early 40s who'd worked at the company for 8 years without ever getting the promotions she deserved. "Let me guess," I said as we settled into a corner booth. "Erica got the promotion you should have gotten." Lisa's smile was bitter. 3 times. I've been passed over 3 times for positions that went to people with half my experience and a quarter of my qualifications. But they had other qualifications that you didn't. If by other qualifications you mean they were willing to sleep with Brad Morrison, then yes. The confirmation of what I'd suspected hit me like a physical blow. Erica isn't the first. Oh, honey, no. She's not even the second or third. Brad's been running Morrison and Associates like his personal dating service for years. The difference is that Erica's the first one who got him to leave his wife for her. His wife doesn't know? Margaret Morrison knows exactly what her husband is, but she's been looking the other way for 20 years because she likes the lifestyle, the house in the hills, the country club membership, the European vacations. But word is that Brad's finally filing for divorce, and Margaret's not going to go quietly. This was getting more interesting by the minute. What does that mean for the company? It means that Margaret owns 40% of Morrison and Associates through their prenup. If she decides to make trouble during the divorce, she could expose a lot of Brad's creative accounting practices, including those special merit bonuses he's been handing out. Lisa reached into her purse and pulled out a flash drive. I've been documenting Brad's behavior for years, hoping someone would eventually listen. Financial irregularities, inappropriate relationships with employees, misuse of company funds, it's all there. I stared at the flash drive like it was made of gold. Why are you giving this to me? Because I'm tired of watching incompetent people get rewarded while good employees get ignored. And because I want to see Brad Morrison get what's coming to him. Her eyes hardened. Your wife isn't a victim in this. She knew exactly what she was doing when she started sleeping with the boss. But Brad's the one with the real power, and he's been abusing it for years. That night, I went through Lisa's files with the methodical precision of a forensic accountant. What I found was a pattern of corruption that went back years and involved far more money than I'd imagined. Brad had been using company funds to pay for personal expenses, disguising them as business costs or employee bonuses. The special merit payments weren't just going to his romantic partners, they were also going to employees who helped cover up his activities or who had information that could damage him. But the real smoking gun was a series of offshore accounts that Brad had set up to hide money from his wife during their marriage. He'd been systematically moving company profits into these accounts, then claiming the money as personal loans or consulting fees. This isn't just adultery, I told Sam as we reviewed the evidence. This is embezzlement, tax evasion, and fraud. We're talking about federal crimes. So what's your play? Turn it over to the FBI? Not yet. First, I want to give Brad and Erica a chance to dig their own graves a little deeper. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. Emma called me the next evening, her voice shaky with emotion. Dad, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. My heart clenched. What is it, sweetheart? Is Mom really having an affair with her boss? The question hung in the air between us. I'd been dreading this moment, knowing that eventually Emma would piece together the truth from the gossip at school and the tension at home. Yes, I said simply. She is. Emma was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was small and hurt. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want you to have to choose sides. Because I hoped maybe we could work things out without involving you in the adult problems. But she's been telling me that you're the one who ruined everything, that you were mean to her and wouldn't let her be happy. Your mom is trying to protect herself, Em. She doesn't want to be the bad guy in this story, so she's making me the villain instead. But that's not fair. No, it's not. But fairness isn't always the most important thing to adults when they're scared or angry. We talked for another 20 minutes, Emma asking questions I tried to answer as honestly as possible without destroying her relationship with her mother. By the time we hung up, I could tell she was starting to see the situation more clearly. That conversation gave me the final piece of motivation I needed. Erica had involved our daughter in this mess, had lied to her, and manipulated her emotions to serve her own agenda. That crossed the last line I'd drawn in my mind. The next morning, I put my plan into action. I started by sending anonymous tips to the Morrison and Associates Board of Directors, along with carefully selected evidence of Brad's financial irregularities. I made sure to focus on the business crimes rather than the personal relationships, framing it as a concerned employee reporting potential fraud. Then I contacted the local business journal, using a pseudonym to suggest they investigate rumors of corruption at one of the city's most prominent consulting firms. I didn't provide evidence directly, but I gave them enough leads to start asking the right questions. Finally, I reached out to Margaret Morrison. Getting her contact information wasn't difficult. She was active in several local charities and served on the board of the art museum. I crafted a careful email expressing sympathy for her situation and offering to provide information that might be helpful in her divorce proceedings. Her response was swift and direct. "Meet me tomorrow at 2 p.m., Country Club dining room. Come alone." Margaret Morrison was a formidable woman in her late 50s, with silver hair and the kind of poise that comes from decades of high society functions. She was waiting for me at a corner table when I arrived, a manila folder open in front of her. "Mr. Thompson," she said without preamble, "I understand you have information about my husband's business practices." "I do. But first, I want to make sure we understand each other. This isn't about revenge for me." "Of course it is," she interrupted with a slight smile. "Your wife is sleeping with my husband, and you want to hurt them both. I respect that. It's honest." Her directness caught me off guard. "Okay, yes, it is about revenge, but it's also about justice. Your husband has been stealing from his own company for years, and my wife has been helping him do it." "Show me." I opened my laptop and walked her through Lisa's evidence, supplemented by my own analysis of the financial patterns. Margaret took notes with the precision of someone who'd been managing complex finances for decades. "This offshore account," she said, pointing to one of the spreadsheets. "I've been looking for this money for months. Brad claimed it was a business loss, but I knew he was lying. It's all there. Every transaction, every fake invoice, every fraudulent expense report. Your husband's been systematically looting Morrison and Associates to hide assets from your divorce." Margaret closed her folder and looked at me with something that might have been respect. "You're very thorough, Mr. Thompson. Very professional." "I'm motivated." "Yes, I can see that. The question is, what do you want from me?" "I want you to use this information to destroy him in divorce court. I want you to expose his crimes to the authorities. And I want you to make sure that everyone in this town knows exactly what kind of man Brad Morrison really is." "And in return?" "In return, you get to keep everything. The house, the business, the offshore accounts, all of it. Brad and Erica will be left with nothing but each other and whatever legal bills they can afford." Margaret smiled, and for the first time, it reached her eyes. "Mr. Thompson, I think we're going to get along very well." As I drove home from our meeting, I felt a sense of satisfaction I hadn't experienced in weeks. The pieces were finally falling into place. Brad and Erica thought they'd won, but they had no idea what was coming for them. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Tonight. 8 p.m. Riverside Park. Come alone. E." Erica wanted a meeting. After weeks of hiding behind lawyers and restraining orders, she was finally ready to face me directly. I smiled as I typed my response. "I'll be there." It was time for the final confrontation. Riverside Park was nearly empty at 8 p.m., just a few joggers on the main path and a homeless man sleeping on a bench near the pond. I found Erica waiting by the old stone bridge, looking smaller and more vulnerable than I'd seen her in months. She'd traded her power suits for jeans and a simple sweater, and her hair was pulled back in a ponytail that made her look younger. For a moment, I remembered why I'd fallen in love with her 15 years ago. "Thank you for coming," she said as I approached. "The restraining order?" "I called the police and told them I was initiating contact. We have an hour before they expect me to check in." We stood there in awkward silence for a moment, two people who'd shared a life together and now felt like strangers. The evening air was cool, and I could hear traffic humming on the distant highway. "I want to make a deal," Erica said finally. "I'm listening." "You stop this campaign against Brad and me, and I'll agree to a fair division of assets in the divorce. 50-50, no alimony, joint custody of Emma. Define fair. You keep your retirement account and your car. I keep the house and mine. We split the savings accounts down the middle. I almost laughed. That's not fair, Erica. That's you keeping everything of value and throwing me scraps. It's more than you'll get if this goes to court, especially after your little stunt at the school fundraiser. My little stunt? You mean when I told the truth about your affair? Her composure cracked slightly. You humiliated me in front of our daughter's entire school community. Do you have any idea what that did to Emma? She's been getting questions from her friends, dealing with gossip and rumors. She's been dealing with lies, I interrupted. Your lies. You told her our marriage ended because we grew apart, when the truth is, you've been cheating on me for 8 months. The truth is that our marriage was over long before Brad and I got together. We were like roommates, David. When was the last time we had a real conversation? When was the last time we went on a date, or made love, or even laughed together? The words stung because they contained a grain of truth. We had grown distant in the last few years, caught up in work and routine and the 1,000 small compromises that slowly drain the life out of a relationship. So you decided to solve that problem by sleeping with your boss and stealing money from his company? I didn't steal anything. Those bonuses were legitimate payments for legitimate work. What work, exactly? Because I've seen the hotel receipts, Erica. I know what those Tuesday afternoon meetings really were. She turned away, staring out over the dark water of the pond. You wouldn't understand. Try me. Brad saw something in me that you never did. Ambition, drive, the potential to be more than just a suburban housewife with a middle management job. So this is about money? It's about respect. It's about being valued for what I can contribute instead of being taken for granted. And what about Emma? Did you think about how this would affect her when you were planning your new life with Brad? Erica's shoulders sagged. Of course I thought about Emma. I thought about how much better her life would be when I wasn't trapped in a miserable marriage anymore. When she could see her mother happy and successful instead of bitter and frustrated. She's going to see her mother as something else entirely when the truth comes out. What truth? This was the moment I'd been building toward for weeks, the final card I'd been holding in reserve. The truth about Brad's business practices, the offshore accounts, the embezzled funds, the pattern of corruption going back years. Did you really think you were the only employee he was giving special bonuses to? Erica went very still. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the federal investigation that's about to be launched into Morrison and Associates. I'm talking about the divorce proceedings that are going to expose every penny Brad's been hiding from his wife. I'm talking about the criminal charges that are going to destroy both of your careers and probably land you in prison. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo of the documents Lisa had given me. Lisa Chen has been documenting Brad's crimes for years. She's turned everything over to the authorities, and Margaret Morrison is using it to destroy him in divorce court. Erica's face went white. Lisa, but she's nobody. She's just a mid-level analyst who never got promoted. She's a mid-level analyst who never got promoted because she wouldn't sleep with the boss, unlike some people. The insult hit home. Erica spun around to face me, her eyes blazing with anger. How dare you? How dare I what? Tell the truth? Point out that you threw away 15 years of marriage for a man who's been running the same scam on employees for decades? It wasn't a scam. Brad loves me. Brad loves what you can do for him, just like he loved all the others before you. The difference is that you're the one who's going to be standing next to him when the whole thing collapses. Erica was shaking now, whether from cold or emotion, I couldn't tell. Even if what you're saying is true, there's no evidence connecting me to any financial crimes. Isn't there? Those bonus payments are going to be very hard to explain when the IRS starts asking questions. especially when they're cross-referenced with hotel receipts and restaurant charges that were paid for with company funds. You can't prove. I can prove everything, Erica. Every hotel visit, every fake expense report, every dollar that changed hands. And when Emma's old enough to understand what really happened to her family, she's going to know that her mother chose money over everything else. That broke her. Erica sank onto a nearby bench, her head in her hands, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. "I never meant for it to go this far," she whispered. "It started as just an escape, a way to feel important again, valued again. Brad made me feel like I was worth something. You were worth something. You were worth everything to me and Emma. But that wasn't enough for you." "No," she said, looking up at me with tears streaming down her face. "It wasn't enough, and I hate myself for that. But it's the truth." We sat in silence for a few minutes, the weight of 15 years of shared history settling between us. This was the woman I'd married, the mother of my child, the person I'd planned to grow old with. And now she was a stranger who'd betrayed everything we'd built together. "What happens now?" she asked finally. "Now you live with the consequences of your choices. The investigation moves forward, Brad's empire collapses, and you figure out how to rebuild your life from whatever's left." "And us? Emma?" "There is no us anymore, Erica. As for Emma, she's going to need both of her parents to help her get through this. If you can manage to be honest with her for once in your life, maybe you can salvage some kind of relationship with her." Erica nodded, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "I know you probably won't believe this, but I am sorry. For hurting you. For hurting Emma. For all of it. I believe you're sorry it didn't work out the way you planned. That's fair." She stood up, smoothing down her sweater with hands that still trembled slightly. "I should go. Brad's expecting me." "Erica?" She turned back. "When this all comes out, and it will come out, don't try to drag me down with you. Don't claim I was involved in any of Brad's schemes or that I knew about the money. Because I have documentation of everything, including the timeline that proves I discovered your affair after the crimes were already committed. I understand. And don't lie to Emma anymore. She deserves better than that." "I know." I watched her walk away across the park, her figure growing smaller and more indistinct in the gathering darkness. In a few days, maybe a week, her world would collapse completely. The investigation would become public, the charges would be filed, and everyone would know exactly what she and Brad had done. Emma would be hurt and confused, but she was strong and smart, and eventually she'd understand that sometimes parents make terrible mistakes. With time and patience, we might be able to rebuild our relationship on a foundation of honesty instead of lies. As for me, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. Not happiness, not satisfaction, just a quiet sense that justice was finally being served. Erica and Brad had gambled everything on their ability to manipulate and deceive, and they'd lost. My phone buzzed with a text from Sam. "How did it go?" I typed back. "It's over." And it was. The marriage was finished, the revenge was complete, and the consequences were set in motion. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight I could finally rest, knowing that the truth was about to set everyone free. Even if the freedom came at a price none of us were prepared to pay.